So today, I want to talk about the solitary third installment games in the Pokemon series, and the lack thereof of them for a while now, actually. And if Pokemon Sun and Moon pretty much spells the end of them, is the Sun and Moon pretty much the chopping block, kind of the guillotine, no, executing that part of the series, that part of the franchise. Because since Generation 1, we've had these solitary on their own games. We've had Yellow, we've had Crystal, Emerald, Platinum, and then they just kind of went on the back burner a bit while we did Black and White and Black and White 2. They went for something a bit different with Black and White and Black and White 2, with a sequel set in the same region, as opposed to the same game created again, which I was a fan of. I don't like the solitary games, but the third installment games, but we're here to talk about the fact that since Sun and Moon has been announced like this, does that mean that they're completely gone? Does that mean that they've been axed and they're completely out of the series forever? So if you have a look at the kind of timeline here, we had Red and Blue, and then there was a special Blue edition that came out in Japan, but that was mostly just to kind of fix some issues in the game. And we had Red and Blue, we had Red and Green, and we had Red and Blue that came out in America. And then after that, we had the special Pikachu edition, which was, it was a lot different, to be honest. Like, I would say that out of all the solitary third installment games, that's the one that made the most sense to make. But we had that, and after that we had Gold and Silver. And after Gold and Silver, they made Crystal, which was slightly different, but it was mostly the same game, again. After Ruby and Sapphire, they made Emerald, which again, the same game, again. After Diamond and Pearl, they made Platinum, which is my personal favorite Pokemon game, but not entirely necessary. It really wasn't necessary to the franchise, to the series. After that, we have Heart Gold and Soul Silver. We have the remix going on there, and then with Black and White, we have Black and White 2. There was no there was no gray. There was no gray or anything like that. It was just Black and White 2, and that was it for 5th generation. And we moved on to X and Y, and then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon. So with Sun and Moon, we pretty much saying here that there is going to be no third. There's not going to be Pokemon Z. Basically, is what's happening here. There's not going to be Pokemon Z. If they do make some kind of Pokemon Z in the future, it'll probably be a remake to X and Y or a sequel. They've kind of shied away from that ever since Platinum. Now, they did have a break in between Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald. They went Ruby, Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald, so they did have a year break, alright? But with this, it's more than a year break, because they had X and Y, the remakes, and then they've moved on to something else. So it's a much bigger break than we've ever seen before, really. Honestly, if they were to just axe out the third installment altogether, I would be happy, personally. It would dispel any kind of thoughts about these third installments in the future, like Sun, Moon, Eclipse. For some reason, people were already thinking about that, when it seems to me that Nintendo is really not Nintendo, but Game Freak is really straying away from that kind of format, that kind of formula for releasing their games. It seems to me that they want to be more kind of progressive in this series. They don't want to hang around in stuff that they've already done before multiple times. Like, you have Red, Blue, and then a Pikachu edition, and then Fire Red and Leaf Green as the remakes. That's 5 games. They released 5 games that are essentially the same. I get that the remake has updated graphics and stuff, but when you get right down to it, and it's got updated moves, it's got updated types and stuff, but when you get right down to it, it's the same game, just a little bit updated. It seems to me that they're not getting away from the remakes per se, but they're getting away from the third installments, which is going to reduce the amount of games they're releasing of the same exact thing by quite a bit. By a 5th, I guess, if you're going by the Red, Blue, Pikachu, Leaf Green, Fire Red thing. But personally, if they did that, I would be pretty happy about that, honestly. I would be incredibly happy about that. I'm not a fan of the whole, let's just make another the same thing, because I was eager to get onto something different, and the entire time people were saying Pokemon Z is going to come out, I was like, no, please no Pokemon Z. Please no Pokemon Z. I really did not want a Pokemon Z, but it seems to me like Sun and Moon isn't going to be anything like that. I don't think it's going to have, I mean, it could definitely have things to do with Kalos, and it could definitely have things to do with the story of Pokemon X and Y, because as we've seen, the Zygarde story has gone unresolved so far. We know that the Zygarde forms aren't in X and Y, and I'm pretty sure they can't actually add any new forms into the game. They can't add the Cell form, the Dog form, and the Super Saiyan Final Frieza Final Form. So, if those forms are in a game, they'll likely be in Sun and Moon, which means they're continuing the story of X and Y in Sun and Moon. They don't have to continue the story of X and Y in X and Y again. That's basically what you can call it. X, instead of Z, it's just X and Y again, with a little bit more into it. So, I would be incredibly happy with that. I don't know how anyone else feels about that. I don't really understand why people would like this kind of formula, because they're selling the same game again and again and again. Honestly, if any other company did this, I feel like there'd be more backlash from it, but since it's been part of the series for so long, people are just okay with it. If we were to get Pokemon Z this year, now I know we're not because Sun and Moon's been announced, but if it was to be Pokemon Z, I would be so upset with that. I would be so upset. But since it hasn't happened, that's kind of telling us that they're gonna be done with that kind of format completely. They didn't do it with Black and White, they're not doing it with X and Y, and they've just moved completely onto Sun and Moon, which means I think there won't be one for Sun and Moon here. But I don't know, it's just kind of like something I was thinking about, and something I kind of want to share with you guys, because people have been so convinced that Z was gonna come out. People were so convinced that Z was gonna come out, and I was just like, no Z, no please, no please. And it's not. We're getting something completely different. And it seems to me that Game Freak is just like, okay, we need to kind of get away from this. We're probably gonna get criticized for it now, because the communities, the gaming industry is a lot more easily criticizable, or they get a little more heated when stuff like this comes up, and they just want to kind of progress a little bit, which makes me happy. I don't know about anyone else. I hope it makes you guys happy, because personally, I don't see what the need for Z really was. Like, why would there be a Pokemon Z? Like, what? It has no, like, impact on the story. Like, Platinum had no impact on. I love Platinum, but it wasn't necessary. It really wasn't. I do enjoy it, but it really wasn't necessary to the whole series. It wasn't. Emeralds, not necessary. Crystal, not necessary. Like, I honestly do think these games are just kind of crash grabs. Because what do? You take what you already have, make some changes to the story, a little bit of change, make a little bit of change to the events and stuff, and then you got a brand new full price game. It's the same game 3 times. But of course, people still do buy all of them. I still do buy all of them because I love the series. But I kind of like that they're not gonna take advantage of the people who will buy them all. Even if I am one of those people. But I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are they gonna be completely gone forever? Or will we see a Sun and Moon eclipse? Will we see Pokemon Z coming after Sun and Moon? Anything can happen, I guess. If the Game Freak, I keep saying Nintendo, but Nintendo doesn't make the games. Game Freak really want to, they could release a Z after this. As long as it comes with a vastly different game to X and Y, I would be okay with that. But if it's the same thing again, then it's just not worth it. It's honestly not worth it. But again, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It's just something I was thinking about, and I was like, oh, maybe I can talk about this for a little bit. Maybe I can talk about this for a little bit, because it's been a big thing in the series, and now it's just like faded out without a word. It's just gone. But I'm gonna thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.